Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday on this cold evening here in Sacramento. My name is Gio. Thank you so much for joining me. This is a Wonder Woman 1984 spoiler review where, very simple, I'll be going over the positives and negatives, in my opinion, of the movie. If you haven't seen Wonder Woman 1984 yet, I appreciate you being here. Stop, go watch Wonder Woman 1984 on HBO Max at no additional cost, and then come back and see me. But this will be a full-on spoiler discussion. So overall, I thought Wonder Woman 1984 was a pretty flawed movie, but a very feel-good movie with a lot of emotional moments that will really hit you in the feels. You know what I mean? So let's start off with some positives. Right off the top, the opening scenes in both Themyscira and I'll just say the Great Mall. Wow. I mean, what a way to start a movie. I was a big fan of Man of Steel's opening sequence. I still am. I don't know, was. I'm very much a big fan of Man of Steel's opening sequence on Krypton with Jor-El retrieving the Codex during this Civil War time in Krypton. And this sequence, the Amazonian Olympics, really rivals that. It gives it a run for its money. I was impressed just how fantastic this opening sequence was. Patty Jenkins, she hyped it up, she talked about it, and in a year where the pandemic took the Tokyo 2020 Olympics from us, this was a pretty damn good substitute. I mean, just the seeing an Amazonian warrior swing with the lasso, throughout the stadium, Amazonian warriors throwing spears, running up steep hills, um, throwing these giant, whatever they're called, weights, whatever you want to call them. It was just incredible. And then you have this young girl, Diana Prince, who's going toe to toe with these Amazonian warriors, and she is doing her thing. It kind of reminded me of the first movie where it seemed like some of the Amazonians were a little bit envious of Diana, young Diana, um, because of how powerful she truly is. And some of that, I think, comes from this movie where, again, she's keeping up with the Amazonian warriors. Obviously, she loses her footing. A little, I guess you could call it symbolism, don't look back. But she falls off her horse and she ends up cheating in the race. And we get a life lesson from Robin Wright, General Antiope. She's back only for this scene, unfortunately, and Queen Hippolyta. But the Amazonian Olympics did not disappoint. That was fantastic. And then the scene right afterwards, where Wonder Woman is saving the day at the mall, the Great Mall, and there's a real strong sense of heroism in this scene, especially. The movie keeps cutting back to young girls reacting to Wonder Woman, and it's very much how I would imagine young girls around the world would be reacting to seeing this movie. Wonder Woman is a total hero. She fights evil or bad in a very non-violent way in comparison to characters like Batman or hell, even Superman, to a certain extent in this DCEU. I mean, he did kill General Zod, which I'm a fan of, but you don't get none of that with this Wonder Woman. And the credit goes to Patty Jenkins for understanding the character and really giving us a hero that today's world could rally behind. So I thought those two scenes were pretty strong. And then, look, for better or worse, this movie focuses on themes and messages a little more than plot, unfortunately. But we're talking about positives here. The themes and messages of fatherhood, truth, instant gratification. There's a line that Pedro Pascal's Maxwell Lord character says early on, where he's on the TV and he goes, "Imagine everything you could want at your fingertips." I'm misquoting it, but it's along those lines, and it's a clear reference to instant gratification and how in today's world, in our world, the real world, we literally have everything at our fingertips with smartphones. We can order food whenever we want. We can order groceries whenever we want. I'm surprised we can't, order gas. Like if our car was on E in the driveway, like somebody delivered gas or something. I don't know. But I thought the themes and messages were really strong. I loved the fatherhood aspect of it. It's a very important, strong, sensitive subject in today's world. And I'd imagine with Pedro Pascal reading the script, um, even though we thought, or I thought his character wasn't the strongest, I mean, he just absolutely had to have loved that. And of course, truth. I mean, Wonder Woman, that's a big thing with her, the lasso of truth, especially in this movie. Um, how it touches on, you know, like the blurred lines between lies and truth. I thought was done pretty well, and we'll get into that, I promise. All right, next up for a positive is Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I mean, she there was zero doubt going into this movie about Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I think she won a lot of people over in the first movie. For me, I was already a believer after watching Batman v Superman, but in this movie, she is as good as ever. There are a couple moments where it really calls on her to deliver during an emotional scene, and she delivers. The Wonder Woman character is very much deconstructed in this movie, which is common to see, at least in my mind, of follow up movies after the first. You think back to Spider Man 2 and how Spider Man had this internal conflict of choosing between what he really wants and his powers, his responsibility, and we get that in this movie with Wonder Woman and how she um, gets Steve Trevor back, sort of. But then the trade-off is she begins to lose her powers, and we see her struggle. We see some vulnerability from her, and I thought that was very effective. And so, even though it was something that we had seen before, I did like the execution. I did like what it presented to us. It put Wonder Woman in a very, very um, emotionally difficult situation, and it worked out. To that point, Steve Trevor and Diana Prince, seeing the two of them together, Chris Pine and Gal Gadot on screen again, regardless of how it was done and the execution, whatnot, we're just talking about seeing them on screen together was fantastic. I mean, their chemistry is as good as it was in the first movie. Their roles are actually reversed, if you didn't notice. This time, Gal Gadot is leading Chris Pine into this new era, the '80s, and it gives us some of the more funnier moments of this movie. Seeing just how Chris Pine reacts. I mean, especially here's a scene where they're walking and Chris Pine sees breakdancing. Some kid does a windmill and Chris Pine just like, what? I mean, it's so funny. Check it out if you haven't. It's hilarious. And then of course, in the first movie, Diana, she tries ice cream for the first time and she's like, oh my God, this is great. In this movie, Steve Trevor's eating Pop Tarts. He's like, oh my God, this is great. And it's just fun. Even though it was something we've seen before, it was tweaked a little bit. And to see them kind of in their roles reversed, it was fun. It really was. Now, the farewell, that really got me. And I don't know if it got you guys. Let me know in the chat if that, I mean, look, okay, this movie has flaws. It does. And we'll get into that. But my God, leading up to this moment right here, the amount of acting required from Gal Gadot's part to show that kind of emotion that she has to say goodbye again to Steve Trevor, is not an easy thing to do, and that's what makes me so impressed about Gal Gadot as an actress. She really delivers in this movie when the story calls for it, and it is just it's so impactful. It hits you right in the chest, and it for me probably the most emotional moment in the DCEU was that. And for that matter, you know, she got to, as far as this scene goes, she did get to say her proper goodbye. She didn't get that in the first movie. She was, her hearing was kind of, not there. She was kind of filling in the words. Steve Trevor was saying all these kind things, sweet things to her, his goodbye. So she didn't really get a proper goodbye. In this movie, she does. And man, Steve Trevor, as she's walking away, saying, "No matter where I am, or I'll always love you, no matter where I am," and she's just breaking down, but fighting through it and walking away. Again, one of the most, if not the most, emotional moment in the DCEU, and this movie gave that to us. And again, it's just it's very powerful emotional kind of stuff. Now, as far as some other characters go, again, talking positives, most of Barbara's transformation, Barbara played by Kristen Wiig. Now, she starts off as a very, not likable or not, I'm not gonna say not likable, not very respected, or, somebody who is, recognized, or gets any kind of recognition. She's largely ignored. And, that aside, I really did enjoy how the movie handles her evolution, as Patty Jenkins says, how the character evolves throughout the movie. There's a great scene where she's at the gym and she's lifting these 10-pound dumbbells, and she's just like, oh, this is too easy. And all of a sudden she starts powerlifting 400 pounds easily. And it's just like, it was just one of the more funnier moments as somebody who, well, went to the gym pre-pandemic. That was funny for me. And again, talking about how her character evolves throughout the movie, there's a scene where, or there's a moment where her character is attacked by a drunk guy. Later, she kicks the drunk guy's ass. And for myself, I'm rooting for this. I'm just like, yeah, right on. Do your thing, Barbara. Are you handling it the best way? No. But this asshole is getting what he deserves. And I have to imagine, female audience members are also having a cheering moment, cheering on Barbara. Again, even though she's not handling it in the best way, it's still a fucking awesome moment. And then, of course, her transformation is at its peak when she turns into the cheetah character. Some negatives, which I'll get into. I will get into it, trust me. But I didn't mind the fighting style and seeing Cheetah, fight. That was one of the things that I was looking forward to. How she jumps from pole to pole, swinging, clawing her way through the golden armor. Even before that, when she's in the White House, which is pretty much what I'll get to next. When a weekend Wonder Woman is fighting Barbara, and she's getting her ass handed to her. Barbara is doing her thing. She jumps through Wonder Woman's force field, I guess you can call it, from her gauntlets, and she is giving it to Wonder Woman. And it's one of those moments that work because of in the context. Wonder Woman at full strength would have easily taken her down, evident later as we see in the movie. But in that moment, it gave us a good fight, probably the best fight in the movie. Actually, now I'm thinking about it, yeah, it's probably the best fight in the movie. But speaking of fighting, The way Wonder Woman fights, the way Wonder Woman uses her lasso. It's like she's attacking, but she's attacking through her defense and ability to parry attacks. And that's something that even the most skeptical people of people who are the most skeptical of this movie can appreciate. I mean, we're seeing her use her lasso of truth. I mean, in ways that I wouldn't have even imagined. And there are clear examples of her fighting without being too violent. She tells Steve Trevor in the White House, "Don't use the sword. It's not the Secret Service's fault." And so Steve Trevor puts the sword down, and she instead uses her lasso, reflects a bullet off a vase, and hits Maxwell, which was pretty funny. And then earlier, during this scene right here, which was a pretty awesome scene, she rips the steering wheel out of a truck, but tells the guards the brakes still work. And again, it's something that you can appreciate because it falls in line with this character. Um, Not always. The first movie she knees a soldier out of a window, but I mean that's early day Wonder Woman. That was like what 60 years ago, according to this timeline, which we'll get into the timeline and continuity. But again, you can appreciate her fighting style. One thing I did forget to mention was this pretty awesome sequence right here of Wonder Woman using or discovering her ability to fly. Especially when it comes to her replaying the words of Steve Trevor, about wind and air, in regards to flight, and just we got this beautiful, beautiful sequence of her flying. I have no doubt this would have looked pretty awesome in IMAX. A couple other positives. Beautiful Lie. Who got that? Batman v Superman. Hans Zimmer, one of his best pieces from his Batman v Superman score. When that started playing, I knew it was playing because Patty Jenkins revealed it. I was like, what? I was so amped and hyped. As a Batman v Superman fan, I was like, yes, they're acknowledging Batman v Superman. Or are they? I don't know, back and forth. Again, we'll get into that. Also, how about this appearance at the end of the movie? Linda Carter as the ancient warrior, Asteria. I may have mispronounced that wrong. But how about that? If I were in a theater, I would have applauded. Okay? Because this did not feel forced at all. It felt so right. It did. And it was just beautiful to see because you know how much Patty Jenkins cares about what Linda Carter has done for the Wonder Woman character. Her, Gal, and others, they all look up to her. They revere her. I didn't see this coming at all, but it was such a great way to involve Linda Carter. And it was the wink at the end to the camera. Look, Wonder Woman fans, they from what I'm seeing on Twitter, and seeing a lot of stuff on Twitter, but they are really loving this movie, and I can totally see why. And look, I'm right there with you. Okay, a lot of positives, feel good movie, very emotional at times. However, it is a flawed movie. I'm not going to deny that. Okay, me being a DC fan, having my own DC podcast here, I'm not going to deny that. And I will stand with people who had problems with this movie. I will respect their opinion as long as they're not trying to rain on other people's parade, just to have fun. Not cool. But let's get into some negatives. Best way to sum this up is execution and explanation. And let's start with stone. So this stone, apparently, if you touch it and make a wish, it comes true. So this guy that you're seeing on screen decides to become the stone. I mean, clever, okay. I mean, it's one thing to wish for more wishes, but to wish to become the actual power itself, I get the okay. Cool, clever. You got some, you got some brains on you, Maxwell. You're not the complete idiot that the movie tries. The characters call you, the loser. Anyways, so the stone, you touch it, you get the powers. Sorry, not Steve Trevor. Maxwell Lord. He touches you, grants you a wish. These are rules that are established. Then all of a sudden, toward the end, I get they said particles and Star Wars program, which was well, that was a little chuckle for that Star Wars program reference, but so he can show up on TV and still give you your wish. I don't know if I buy that. I mean, it was a little far fetched, if I'm being honest. Again, execution and explanation. It's a great concept, but the way it happened, I was like, I don't know. And then another part was Steve Trevor and how is he Steve Trevor? Is he not Steve Trevor? Look, he shows up in the movie. We see this other guy credited as handsome guy, a handsome man. And then after a couple of rotating shots of the two, it's Chris Pine. And the first time I saw it, I thought she was looking at Chris Pine, but the second time I saw this, she's not looking at Chris Pine because she doesn't see Chris Pine. I'm talking Steve Trevor, Chris Pine. She sees this guy who probably acts like Steve Trevor, talks like Steve Trevor, says things that only her and Steve Trevor would know. And Diana is, and again, the film establishes her missing Steve Trevor in the beginning, right? She's sitting outside of a cafe. She's looking at the plane in the sky. She clearly misses him. She misses him that much that after a couple of lines, even though she's not looking at Chris Pine, she believes it's Steve Trevor. It's just, I don't know. Again, a little bit of a stretch, but regardless, it was nice to see Diana and Steve on screen together. But again, it was a negative for me. It was because I really had to think about it, and I don't know how much of that I would believe, but it is what it is. And then, okay, so the whole world, I guess, renounced their wish, right? Everyone was able to renounce their wish, including Maxwell Lord. Um, is that it? So does everything go back to normal? Like nobody has any recollection of what happened in the past week. I don't know. And how do we know that everybody renounced their wish in the world? Yeah, it's just again, I get it. It's a beautiful concept. I get the message. I really do. It seemed like everything was just wrapped up a little too quickly and conveniently. If I'm being honest. So that's that. Let me know your thoughts. Am I reaching a little bit here, or do you see what I mean? And speaking of that, there's continuity concerns. Where does this fall in line? Does it fall in line with BVS because it played Beautiful Lie? Or not? Because Diana says in Batman v Superman, 100 years ago, I walked away from mankind, but she didn't in this movie. She's very much present, even though she knocked out some cameras. People see her. Imagine if satellite imaging, somebody has a picture of her other than Lex Luthor. I don't know. This movie didn't do the continuity for the DCEU any favors, and it's already a muddled continuity for casual fans because they know the Snyder Cut's coming out, but people tell me like, what's this new Justice League coming out? Is it a sequel? No, it's not a sequel. It's the original movie. It's the movie that should have came out. It's a movie that we should have gotten. But again, continuity, I don't know. If I had to say, it's like 51% in continuity with Batman v Superman, 49% not in continuity. I don't know. Maybe the Snyder cut, some of that additional photography could be, Zach called up Patty and was like, hey, show me an early cut of Wonder Woman 84. So maybe we can help fix this. Remains to be seen. Let me know your thoughts on the continuity. I don't, again, there are things going forward and things going against it. So I'm not going to spend an hour trying to figure it out like I did the X-Men franchise back when, X-Men Origins and all this other stuff. Different story. Another negatives. So I talked about execution, explanation, give some examples. The CGI on Cheetah, again, not perfect, but also not an easy character to adapt in live action. I can see what Patty Jenkins and company were trying to do. You darken the environment to help with the CGI. It wasn't perfect. And for that, I have to call it out. Okay. There was, especially when she's in the water, it's not an easy thing to do. I'm not saying I could do a better job. I can't, but it was noticeable. Okay. It was Luke Skywalker from Mandalorian. Spoiler. I'm sorry. Episode's been out for 2 weeks now. Anyways, another negative, this guy, unfortunately. Yep, this guy. I'll show another picture. I'll show that one. What a year for Pedro Pascal, really. Mandalorian, this movie. And he's great. His performance is great in this movie. He's excellent. His character, though, comical. I mean, and maybe it's intended because he's trying to win Barbara over, but in the beginning he's dancing and wearing a mask and being goofy, and it's just like, well, wait a minute, who is this guy? And then during this scene, your wish is granted, your wish is granted, granted. And it's just like, oh my god, it's giving me some Amazing Spider-Man 2 Rhino vibes. It's just not working. I get what you're doing. Nope. And then how his character, look, I love the fatherhood. I talked about that. Great stuff. Probably what drew Pedro Pascal to the role. But is he not going to get in trouble for what he did? The movie ends up with him and his son, his son is terrific. Actor is great. The character should have no reason to love his father, but he does. All is well. They walk off. What, they can go get ice cream or something? I don't know. Like, should have wrapped that up. I don't know. Put him in handcuffs. And, son is like, I love you, Dad. I love you too, son. And maybe he's redeemable later on down the road. But I guess not. And then last thing I want to touch on, Barbara's origins. Kristen Wiig did a great job, even though we kind of seen that character in the beginning in a couple of movies. Most notably, again, Amazing Spider-Man 2. Jamie Foxx's Electro. Batman Forever. Jim Carrey's Edward Nygma. We've seen this character before. And I don't feel sorry for her character as much. Just I don't know, the character who isn't respected, stepped on, not recognized, this and that. It's like, I've seen that before. I thought we were getting something else, and it kind of took away from the transformation a little bit. Her character's how her character evolves throughout the movie. It did, and then the CGI that I talked about on the cheetah. And the motivations of these villains, like I understand it, but I've seen it before. And Maxwell Lord is just he's letting capitalism get the best of him. Even though fatherhood saves him, it's just like, could have been better, I guess. And it's unfortunate because Cheetah is like what the villain as far as Wonder Woman goes. One of the more, if not the most popular villain. Which, by the way, she may come back. Who knows? We'll see. She didn't. Again, you don't know if everyone renounced their wish. We sure as hell don't know if she renounced her wish. So we could be seeing Cheetah in the future. Although Wonder Woman 3 takes place in modern day. It's 1984, 94, 2004, 2014. We'll just say 2024. 40 years. Barbara's going to be an old Cheetah, assuming she ages. I don't know. Let me know in the comments if there's something in the comics where she doesn't age. If so, the movie didn't let me know. But yeah, overall, Wonder Woman 1984 is a fun movie. It is. It's a very feel-good movie. A lot of emotional stuff in there. Is it flawed? Yes. I just went over that. It's definitely flawed. Is it the best DCEU movie? Not even close. Is it the best Wonder Woman movie? Probably not. But man, this movie really hits you in the feels. Gal Gadot is as great as ever as Wonder Woman. Some of the shots I wish I had seen on the big screen, especially in IMAX. This movie has the right style of action, some really damn good humor, and again, it's a feel-good movie. It's not the best, certainly flawed, but I enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts on Wonder Woman 1984. What'd you think? What'd you think of the characters? Does it fall in line with Batman v Superman? Did you like my review? Let me know in your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Gio. You guys can follow me here on YouTube, where I do weekly news podcasts. I just did a breaking news video on Wonder Woman 3. Trailer reactions, movie reviews, maybe some other stuff. I'm excited for 2021, not just for my podcast, but for DCEU fans. We got some good stuff coming this year. You guys can also follow me on Twitter at Grey Goose Jedi, like the alcohol, Grey Goose Jedi. Thank you so much for joining me again. Hope you had a great Christmas. Hope you have a good Sunday night. Be safe and Happy New Year.